it could be in engineering and robotics, and it could be, so that will always be a fine line we have to walk. The athletics brings such value to so many students, and the fact that our teams are successful means our transportation costs go up because they're, going off to the playoffs. The fact that, one of the items that we have in the capital request that goes along with the turf field and the track is throwing cages and to, redo the athletic field so that we can host home track and field games. Now, on one level, that would bring transportation costs down because we can have people come to us as opposed to us going to other venues. But athletics is central to the community. It's important to a lot of students, and the only way to balance that is to either fund it as it is, to maybe expand or improve it, or to reduce it. And it's not just the high school, because that also is part of the middle school, because there are opportunities that we're not taking at the middle school, because again, it's due to budget. But yes, would I like to see the high school have a larger budget than athletics? Not at the expense of athletics, but in comparison to, I think we should be funding all of our schools much higher than we are. In fact, the smallest parts of our budget are the schools. We leave them at the bottom because, in a $26, $27 million budget, where NSCS is, a few, I don't know it offhand, like 30, 40, 50,000 or something like that. I don't know. The high school is about 170,000.
So again, I'm curious, just because I don't know if this is common across all the high schools, because even in the budget said that it doesn't even include coaches. So I'd be curious to know what a sort of fully loaded athletic budget is versus a fully loaded mathematics budget, or a fully loaded science budget, which includes, I'd include the professional development, but it'd be really interesting to look at it across program, just to know, so even so the town can understand.
And one of the ways of approaching the budgets and is to approach them as more student-centric, to take a look at the program and how many students it supports, and break it down that way. So when you're, in this case, when you're looking at athletics, you're looking at the number of students who are participating in sports. With the equipment budget, the general athletics budget, the coaches are actually carved off and they're under the personnel budget, so you don't see them as part of athletics. And transportation, there's a part of it that's in athletics, but that's always something that, as our kids are making the playoffs, funds have to be reallocated and balanced, right? So you're right, it is an expensive proposition. All right, but I'm not here saying that it's not a worthy proposition. I just wish there were a balance for everything. And look, I'll give you an example that I think of a lot. It's just so over at the high school, Mr. McGee, he actually he did his own carpentry, and they created a wall of fame, and all of these amazing things that our athletes are doing. And I was talking to one of our robotics kids, and he said, "Where's our wall of fame?" You're right. And that's why we need to try to find a balance, and that goes to what you're saying as to we're looking at a maintenance budget just to do transportation, tuitions, contractual obligations, and benefits, when there's so many more things we could be doing, and we're constantly hamstrung. I mean, we try, we come up with these most amazing, creative, out-of-the-box ideas, and we try to find efficiencies and try to bring in more resources. And it's not all about the money, but that's important. It's a consideration.
May I ask a question? Have we heard anything further from the governor's state of the state where she proposes to give more money to education?
Yeah, we're not going to see it.
That wasn't the answer I wanted.
There have been some allocations in areas that don't really affect us.
Yeah, I think that we have done I'm going to say a macro approach on funding. So if you recall back when it was just Mr. Connell and myself, and we were in the minority, in that year, we were able to push through a math interventionist, an IT person. We were able to put aside money for uniforms for some of the students that didn't have that. Some of the teams had uniforms that were 10 to 15 years old. If you recall, we funded clubs like We the People. I think I think that what we're, at least my philosophy, and I'm sure you agree, is with saying taking anything off the table is unacceptable. I know that last year we were possibly going to lose a math interventionist. The superintendent said, no, maybe we have to take middle school sports. No, we've got to do everything. These are things that in my opinion, are mandatory. We have to take care of our kids to the best of our ability, and cutting anything is unacceptable, to go with the chairwoman. So I think we are, I understand, what's the percentage and all sorts of stuff, but I think we are going in a very positive direction on everything. I mean, obviously, our rankings up, sports are up. There are more people participating. If you remember, they couldn't field the football team when I was in the minority on this school board. All of those things have changed. We now have too many kids going off to sports. So I think that we're taking all of the avenues and properly doing the right thing on every avenue.
And I was talking to Mr. Tech about this, and we have a possibility of a couple of our teams switching over to Division I. So this is a powerful little district and a powerful little school, to be able to field as much, whether it's athletics or artists or scholars. It is a very powerful district.
And the other thing I will say is that people aren't going to leave our district because sports programs, for other CTEs, and our sports program, is so good. Or at least they're not going to look for an excuse to go to a different school for a sports program when our sports programs are so good.
I think the other thing is, we keep hearing about how we're competing for students, and there's a certain reality to that today, and I think all those things, the combination of the arts and the music and arts and the successful, not just successful sports teams, but just having sports teams that are fun to be on and you enjoy playing, that it contributes to the atmosphere that people want to be here. I mean, I actually think that's even more than the academics, that people want to go somewhere where they're going to be happy. I think I'd rather be at a school that's maybe, a little lower ranked and I'm going to be happy at than someplace which maybe might be higher ranked, but I might be miserable at. I think that's how a lot of kids feel in this competitive environment today. A lot of kids, that's all.
Well, it's not on tonight's agenda, but I want to put on for next agenda our marketing and communications. We have videos and things you have not seen yet. So the rollout is going to begin, and I think you are going to be amazed.
Great. Let me just move to move them in tandem, but the capital budget. I assume you want to vote to send this to the council tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay. So if you could just have a brief discussion on the capital budget.
So this is two purposes. It goes to the town and it also goes to the Department of Ed. So the requirement is to submit a 6-year budget plan. We're trying to keep it very simple and just target things that fall within capital funding that that have impact for the schools. So one of the things that, this is similar to what we asked for last year. There's an update. We would love to be able to be on a steady replacement cycle of Chromebooks, as opposed to letting them become 5 years old, lose their keyboards, and then sort of beg, borrow, and steal to try to replace it. If we could just do this in a planned fashion. Same with the classroom technologies. We have smart boards now that are 11 years old, 12 years old, and we would just like to have a steady rotation and upgrade of classroom technologies. There are some specific projects that we need to update, and so the $40,000 for wireless replacement and upgrade, we're eligible for federal subsidies on this. We will get a 40% reimbursement for doing this work. So the $40,000 that we would be looking for from the town is actually after the 40%. So we're actually getting more money, but the towns, if they go for this with capital, the piece is only 60% of the total cost. That's my son. And I'm sorry to bring out my cell phone into the middle of this. Another E-rate project is to replace some technology over at NSES. The athletic field. Now, this is one that we really need a comprehensive plan and commitment to this, because we're kicking this can down the road. So the field is spec'd at a 10-year life cycle. We're on year 12. Mr. Seepy and the main facility staff are doing a nice job patching it together and keeping it going, but at some point we really need to replace this, and we need to resurface the track around it. I've already talked about, wanting to be able to host home events for outdoor track and field, and I apologize, I don't know where we left off with this, what's happening with the concession stand and that whole initiative. However, it would be really beneficial in more ways than just financial if we had a single plan and a commitment to do all of this at once, because then we have cost savings by having the contractor there and the equipment there, and not having to bring it all in each small project. And ideally, and this is what I would hope, is that maybe we can, not necessarily a bond, but do a financing project with one of these big contractors. And so, it may be a 10% finance charge. I don't know.
Now they go about 3%.
Yeah,
maximum.
but if we could pay it off over a 5-year period, we're only looking at 200. This is not the concession stand. This is the field, the track, and the outdoor track, the throwing cage and such. Maybe we're at 200, 220, 225,000 a year for 5 years, but we get all this done up front, and we reap the benefits of it, and we enjoy it. We help use it to attract students, and ideally, if we can work out the concession stand and the bathrooms, and to be honest, I'm more focused on the bathrooms, so that we can bring the community in, and we can bring from the elderly housing, and just make it a viable space, and just wrap all of this up. That would be ideal. So I don't have a solution for this, just a request to the town as we go through the capital. Let's have a plan, and maybe if we could do a commitment to sort of break it out over a 5-year period, just get it done. And then
if I may just interrupt,
Yes.
just on a few different things. One is, obviously, if we were to have statewide meets, we would probably be the #1 place in the state, to be honest with you, right? I mean, if we had the throwing cage, the concession stand, the bathrooms resurfaced, it would probably be the best place in the state that we
I
could have
wouldn't say
statewide meets.
the best, because there are a lot of schools investing very heavily in this, but we won't be the worst.
Right.
We will be among
But-
the best. So,
But they have statewide meets at different places that are really substandard, and they're having, they charge $10 a piece to get in, and I mean, I don't know where the money goes, but if you have enough people there, it's going to generate funds to the district. And the other thing I just want to say is, so it says that we have $200,000 set aside this year. When did that so what was the number of years, and I'm just estimating, what was the number of years that took to accumulate? About 4. All right, 4 or 5. And that came into play during this time that we were here. So most of that money was put aside while we were here. All right. I just wanted to put that on. Thank you.
So on the facility side, Mr. Seepy is really hoping for a smaller cargo van to sort of supplement our big old box truck. There are a number of things that we could use a cargo van for instead of the big box truck. And then, Mr. Seepy is doing an amazing job renovating all of our classrooms in-house. He would like some seed money for that, and if we could do, say, $35,000 a year for materials and replacement of some furniture, and he's making these dollars stretch in a way that falls within policy and procurement, so there's nothing, but he's very good at making things happen and getting great prices. And then the last piece is the contribution to keep topping up the revolving fund for the ride-approved projects. We're asking for $200,000. Obviously, if more were available, we could certainly use it. The priorities on this, again, we have probably about $4 million worth of things that are identified as warm, safe, dry. The priorities at this stage are replacing the 50-year-old windows at the high school. When you tour the new science labs on the second floor, you will see what windows look like or should look like in a school because we're able to replace those. We'd like a generator for NSES, and going to try to get that to qualify under warm, safe, dry for NSES. That would be invaluable. We lose power. The issue with NSES is that we lose power and the pump stops circulating and the water turns brown, and there are things. We also had the situation last winter where our pipes froze. Lost power, the boiler went down, and our pipes froze, and there was a lot of damage and repairs that had to be done. And then the other thing with NSCS, there are right now 3 different ventilation HVAC systems. We need a controller that kind of makes them work as one so it can efficiently move air around that building. So that's what we're looking at least in the first round of the warm, safe, dry investments.
Great. And so I got to qualify this again. So this is pretty much what you would need to move forward on. That's bare minimum, but kind of your wish list is, going to get everything. But that's, so you're happy with
Yes.
moving forward on this?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to submit the proposed operating budget in the amount of
$27,502,539.
and it goes to the town council.
Budget committee, town administrator, town council.
So I'll entertain that motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Let me roll call this.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharp?
Yes.
Mr. Cannell?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayo?
Yes.
Mrs. Buck?
Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to send the fiscal year 21 capital budget to the same entities, the town council,
Planning board.
what is it?
Planning board.
So we send it directly to the planning
Yes.
board, not to the town council?
No.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to send the fiscal year 21 capital budget to the planning board.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Canal?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lot?
Yes.
Motion passes. Is there any other questions in regards to the budget or anything? All right, we'll move on to the Veterans Memorial Stadium Committee update. I don't know anything that's going on. Maybe I can just jump back to the concession stand. I don't know if they're in charge of that, but I know that is moving forward to the best of my knowledge. And hopefully that happens. And that's it. All right, so that's a standing agenda. We'll move on to the Halliwell naming rights. I know that we had this on because there were possibly some other ideas that we could do there. Does anybody have any ideas or suggestions? Is this something that you want to keep on the agenda? I think we took a number of votes. And I know I'm satisfied with the votes. I don't know if anybody wants to do anything additional.
I think it would put some of it on the agenda for later.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to continue that matter to the next scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Is there any further business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.